Kakadosh Boker Tov, Masechet Ketubot Daf 63a1. We are by the Mishnah. So the Mishnah in the middle of 63a1. Hamoredet al Baalah. A woman that rebels against her husband, and therefore she does not want to give him relations. Pohatin la miketubata shiv'a dinarim b'Shabbat. They take her off for every single week that she does not give him the relations. They take off 7 dinarim, which is basically a dinar, for every single day. Rabbi Yehuda says, Pochatin, they're going to take off Shiva tarpaikin, which is a name of a coin. Okay, the Gemara is going to obviously explain the differences, right, in the value of the money per week. But basically, it's 1 per day. Ad matayu pochet. So until when are you going to take it down? Yeah, when are you going to start deducting? Right, you start deducting until when? So he said, matayu pochet. Ad kenege ketubata, until she loses her entire ketubah. Rabbi Yosef says, leolamu pochet veolech, shim tipo la yerusha mimakom acher, govehemena. He says, you know what? You continue going. Why? Because if all of a sudden now she's going to get a yerusha, sometimes some aunt or some uncle or whatever it is, either even her parents, they pass away, and all of a sudden she comes and she gets a yerusha. So therefore, that yerusha she'll also lose it, and therefore you continue going even after she's finished. That she doesn't have a ketubah, you continue deducting, you continue going, so that way he will get that entire amount, right? So now this was one side of the street, right? Now we're flipping. Yeah, are you listening? Now we're switching it, right? What does that mean? What about now a man that he does not give relations to his wife? So says the Gemara, the other way around. Here, you have to come and you have to add on 3 dinarim. Now, obviously, the Gemara is going to explain what's the difference. Rabbi Yehuda says, shlosha tarpaikin. So again, it's the same machloket between the value. Because last time Tanakama said dinarin, Rabbi Yehuda says tarpikin. The same thing here. Rabbi Yehuda says tarpikin, Tanakama says dinarim. But it's going to be 3 for every single week. So let's see the Gemara. And the Gemara says as follows. Moredet. Yeah, what are we talking about? Moredet mimai. She's rebelling in what? In what way is she rebelling against her husband? So Ravuna says, mitashmisha mitah. Marital relations. She's not giving him relations. That's considered that she's a rebellious woman. Rabbi Yosef Rab Hanina Omar. Rabbi Yosef Rab Hanina says, mimelacha, from work. That means she's not doing the work that she's supposed to do for her husband. The fact that she's not doing the work that she's supposed to do for her husband, that is called moredet. Tanan. So now the Gemara is going to ask him. So now we learned on the Mishnah, v'chena mored al ishto, also a man that rebels against his wife. Bishlema leman da'amar mitashmish lechaye. I understand that if we're talking about tashmish, it makes sense. So he's not giving tashmish for his wife. And leman da'amar milacha, but to do with melacha, mimeshuballa, is the man subjugated to the woman to do halacha for his wife? He's not obligated. Yeah? So therefore, what? So says the Gemara, in yes. What are we referring to? Haomer eni zan veni mefarnes. A person, he's not obligated to do a work for the wife. You understand? Which means, right, if you think that when you got married, you're obligated to take out the garbage, it's incorrect. You're not obligated to do anything. You're smart if you do that. Yeah, you're smart if you do that, right? But you're not obligated. Right? Why? A man is not subjugated to his wife in a melacha. She's subjugated to him. You remember the 7 things, whether it's to cook, whether it's to how do you call it, to clean, whether it's all these other things, fine. But it's not the same thing, the bed and everything, right? But he comes and he says, here he says, I'm not going to give parnasah, right? Any zan, for this. He doesn't give food to his wife. Now, that is an obligation that he has. He has obligation to support his family. If he's not going to come and support his family, so therefore they come, and it's called mored. So says the Gemara, V'amar Rav. Yeah, you guys listening? Yeah, V'amar Rav. Rav comes and he says, right? Ha'omer eni zan v'eni mefarnes. You'll see v'yiten ketubah. What are you talking about? If a person comes and he says that he's not giving parnasah to his wife, you know what happens? Yotze v'yiten ketubah miyad. Immediately he has to pay the full amount of the ketubah and he has to divorce her. So what are you talking about now that we're only talking about now that you start considered a mored and then you're going to start deducting money? That's not true. You understand? Gemara. He says what? Before they're going to actually come and make him divorce, they're not going to ask him? Yeah, what does that mean? Right? They're not going to make him divorce? Yeah, so he comes and he says, obviously they have to ask him. Yeah, so one more time. Which means it has to be immediately. So he says, no, they have to ask him. So the fact that they ask him, so therefore, obviously they would come and they would deduct or they would do the deductions beforehand. Fine, Meitvei. We're going to ask the following question. Achat li arusa v'nesua v'afilu nida v'afilu chola v'afilu shomeret yavam. Do you know, right, that from the Braita it says that the din of moredet would apply whether it's an arusa, that she doesn't want to get married, whether it's an nesua, that she's moredet al bala, or even if she's a nida, or even if she's chola, and even if she's shomeret yavam, that she doesn't want to do yibum, she has the din of moredet. So now the Gemara is going to say, okay, the truth is this we have we have it in brackets. So let's skip the brackets. Yeah. So one second. Right? If you're going to tell me right now, okay, the truth is though that in the brackets it says then it makes sense, right? Because all these women are still obligated to do melacha, and she doesn't want to do it. But if you're going to tell me to tashmish, what do you do about the nida? So again, we just answered about pat besalo and pat lo besalo, right? That's what we already mentioned beforehand. But let's skip out the brackets, right? Because we don't do those brackets, right? Even though I just did it for you, right? But usually we skip out those brackets. We only do the square brackets, not the round brackets. Okay, the parentheses. That's just the general rule in the Gemara. Usually when we have the brackets like this, right? The circle brackets, we skip them out. We only do the square like the other ones. Okay, the square we don't do the round. Okay, so he says like this. So he says, I understand tashmish. Hainu diktani chola. That's what we spoke about. Chola. Why? Because a chola, she could still have tashmish. Right? Right? 63b. But if we're talking about melacha, chola b'melacha, can she do melacha? So remember, in the other brackets, we spoke about the nida. The nida cannot have tashmish. So therefore, it's going to be good if it's going to be melacha. So we answered there's still the difference between pat besalo velo pat besalo, which means a man that knows that when she's going to become, right, then she could, when she basically goes to the mikveh, she'll be able to have relations with him. That's already enough, already something. Here, it's something completely different. You understand? Fine. Now he says, but what about a chula?
Why is it different? Because she's nida, but she says, I don't want.
So it says the Gemara, right? I understand about if it's going to be about melacha, she can't do melacha, right? She's sick, she can't do melacha, right? Remember, melacha, right? Tashmish, she doesn't do anything, right? She's just lying down. So, okay, big deal. Here, she's going to come, she's going to start working, right? She's sick. So, ela mitashmish kule alma lo plige. But rather, to do a tashmish, nobody's arguing. Tahavya moredet, that she is considered a moredet, just like we learned. Ki plige memlacha. What are we talking about? Melacha. Which means like this. If a woman comes and she doesn't give relations to her husband, according to all opinions, she's a moredet. According to everybody, there's no one person that says no. The question is, what about melacha? She doesn't do melacha for the husband. Is she considered not? More savar melacha lo moredet. One of them, which is Ravuna, he holds a melacha. She's not considered a moredet if she doesn't do it. More savar melacha nami moredet. It is considered moredet. Okay, fine. Next, gufa. Hamoredet al bala pohatin la miktubata shiva dinarim b'Shabbat. Somebody that's going to be moredet al bala. Are you listening? Yeah, moredet al bala. You're going to take off 7 dinarim b'Shabbat. Rabbi Yehuda says 7 trapikim. Rabotenu chazur v'nimnu. Then afterwards they went, right, and they spoke about it, right, and they said, Shiu machrizin alea barabim arba Shabbatot zo achar zo. What they're going to do is they're going to start mentioning it publicly.
4 Shabbatot.
4 Shabbatot. So therefore, they're going to be, like the Rambam says, they're going to be coming saying, Plonit mardal bala. Now, why are you doing this? In order to embarrass her, in order that she's going to be chozeret ba. Right? So you're doing it, mamash. And not only that, so that way your family members will hear, and therefore maybe they will speak to her. Right? The family members. Imagine. Are you listening? Yeah, are you listening? All of a sudden, right? All of a sudden, right? The family, they come and they hear what's going on. They come and they speak to her to try to convince her, right? What are you doing? Right? Open up your eyes. Right? Don't be foolish.
The whole community.
Everybody. Yeah, Arba Shabbatot, zo achar zo, v'sholchin la bet din. Right? And bet din, they come and they give her this warning. Heve yodat, you should know, shafilu ktubatech me'amane hifsat. So that means even though at the beginning it used to be 7 per week, right? 7 dinarim per week, but which could take a while until basically it's going to get rid of the entire ketubah. All of a sudden they do it for a month. After a month, right? Chodesh Ratu, 1 month. And they come and they tell her, she'afilu ketubatech me'amane, even if your ketubah is 100 maneh, not 1 maneh, 100 maneh, 100-fold. Usually a woman would get, right, 200, correct? 200, right? An almanah gets 100, or a beula, 100. Here he's saying, even if you have 100 of 100s, mea maneh, even mea times, 100 of 100, meaning that we're talking about 100 times the normal ketubah, right? Not the normal ketubah, it's 50 times the normal ketubah, 100 times the ketubah of almanah or a beula. Achat li arusa v'nesua, v'afilu nida, v'afilu chola, v'afilu shomer tevam. Which means you lost everything. Which means if you're not going to come and you're not going to start behaving, wallo, nada. Right? But she could think, listen, he went and he gave me, $500,000. They want to take off 7 dinarim for Shabbat. I get a month of chofesh, right? I get a month off, right? Let them take it off. What's the big deal? They're going to take off 7. No. After 4 weeks, nothing. She loses everything. Okay? So Elmaleh Rabbi Chia bar Yosef Shmuel, says Rabbi Chia bar Yosef to Shmuel, Nida batashmishi. Says what? Can Nida have relations? Right? Now you understand why we took it out in the brackets before. Because the Gemara now is asking the exact same question. And the Gemara answers, There's going to be a huge difference between somebody that has bread in his basket if he's hungry, or if he doesn't have bread in his basket if he's hungry. Which means when a person is hungry and they know they have food at home, so they're not that hungry anymore. Why? Because you could eat, right? But if you don't have it, right? So now you're hungry. Understand? It's like a person right now that he has a croissant, right? There's a croissant in front of him. So if he knows that he could have the croissant, so it's a yitzhak, but he can say, I could control myself. If it's a ta'anit, and now he's like this, now it's double the same thing. No, because now he can't have it. Now it's like, it's much different, right? But the same thing would happen in the ta'anit. What happens if you're in a ta'anit, but you already know that you could have a croissant? What does it mean? You have croissants at home. So then you're calm. Why? Because you already know. Okay, I have it. The second that the ta'anit finishes, I've got food. Okay, fine. So says the Gemara, Amar Rabbi Bar Chama, says Nechama, right? What does that mean? It says they're only going to mention, right? Only in the Bate Knesiot and the Bate Midrashot. They don't have to do it in the Shvakim and Uchuvot, because since anyway the entire purpose is for her to be embarrassed, right? Everyone comes to the Bate Knesset and the Bate Midrash. So since everyone comes to the Bate Knesset and the Bate Midrashot, that's it. You don't need to mention it in the Shuk or anywhere else, right? That's all you have to mention it. So Amar Rava says, we could also deduce it from the fact that it's written Arba Shabbatot zo achar zo. Shema mina, we're talking about Shabbatot. Obviously, we're talking about where everyone comes into the Beit Knesset and the Midrashot, and therefore we learn from here that they only mention it in the Beit Knesset and the Beit Midrash. Okay? Amar Rabbi Chama says Chama, Ha'amayim shulchin la mibatin. Right? Do you know that the Bedin, they send it to her twice? Achat kodem ha'achraza ve'achal achar achraza. One warning before the public shaming, as they call it, and one after the public shaming. Meaning right before, because they're not going to come and they're going to mention in the Beit Knesset in front of everybody before they talk to her. So they first send her a warning beforehand. She doesn't accept it, boom. 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Then exactly, yeah, we put it in the bulletin. Right? We put it on the big TV downstairs. Yeah, you put it big.
What category?
Yeah, you put Moredet. You put this woman is Moredet al Bala. Yeah. Yeah. 100%. So he comes now and he says like this: Darash Rav Nachman bar Rav Hasta. Rav Nachman bar Rav Hasta comes and he's doresh halacha kerabotenu. What does that mean? That we don't come and start taking off from the ketubah, because remember, if you're going to start taking off even 7 dinarim, right? And let's say she's got the ketubah 50 dinarim, it's still going to take a good 7 weeks, right? Until, she gets rid of the ketubah. Or let's say he went and he gave her extra. She was very important family. He came and he wrote to her, I don't know how many money. Understand? So it could take months, right? Even 7 weeks. 7 weeks is almost 2 months, right? Or it could take even much longer. We don't know how long it could take. It depends on her ketubah. So imagine a woman comes and she says, anyway, what's the word ketubah worth? She comes, she starts making him suffer. Yeah, and almost. So we're not going to wait. The lachazak rabotenu, that immediately after, he says over here, that after 1 month, we come and we get rid of the entire ketubah. Amar Rava says, Hay burcha. He says, this is not correct. But she means the halakha is not like this. So Elmaleh Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, right? He says, Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak says, my burchate. What is not proper? Ana amrita nihale, right? I said it myself to Rav Nachman bar Chastam. Umishmed de gav Rabba amrita nihale. And I said in the name of a big rabbi. Umanu, who is it? Rav Yosef bar Chanina. So Rav Yosef bar Chanina. The ihu bar Rava, that he says that it's not right. Keman savar. Ki adit mar Rava mar Rav Sheshat, says Rava the name of Sheshat. Halakha nimlachim ba. What is halakha? We actually come and we start to try to appease her, right? Which means we don't come and we don't get them divorced that quickly. We come and we try to appease her. Now, in the meantime, you're right. You continue taking off the 7 dinarim every single week. But you try to appease, you try to speak to her heart in order to make her, to convince her to go, to retract. Rav Huna bar Yehuda mar Rav Sheshat, says Rav Huna bar Yehuda name Rav Sheshat, halakha she'en nimlachin ba. The halakha is that we do not, right, ask her anything, which means we do not, right, we don't wait as if to say, but rather we do like Rabotenu, which means that after 4 weeks, she loses everything. So says the Gemara, okay, fine. What exactly is the case of moredet? Right? So Amar Amimar says, the Amra ba'ina le mitzana le. The case is where she says, I want him, but I want him to suffer. Meaning, if a woman comes and she says, yeah, she loves her husband, but she wants to make him, she wants payback. That's when that's called moredet. Aval amra ma'isalai. But if she says that she's disgusted with him, lo kaifina la, we do not force her. Yeah? You heard. We do not. So Morzutra argues, and Morzutra says, because again, one more time, what did we just say? We just said that if she says ma'isalai, we don't force her to have the relations, but rather what happens is that we get her divorced without paying the ketubah. Now Morzutra comes, right? And Morzutra is going to say as follows: Kaifina la. We do come and put pressure on her to be with her husband. So the Gemara says, Hava Ubda, there was a story. The Achpa Morzutra actually forced her, right? Just like a Shita. But she has to go back to him. The Nafat Mine, and it came from that story, Rav Chanina Misura. Rav Chanina Misura came out of that story. So you see from here that it was good that he forced basically the wife to go back. I mean, even though she went and she said that she's disgusted with him. Now remember, disgusted with him could be for anything. It could be that the guy didn't take a shower for a week and a half, or I don't know what, or that I don't know what, he started leaving some long hairdo, I don't know what. I don't know, many different things.
He smelled very bad.
Yeah, it could be anything. It could be anything that she's disgusted with him. Huh?
Somebody getting abused.
Yeah, it could be anything. It could be anything. But what? Says Morzutra, right? He comes and he says, Chanina Misura, he came out from such a union, right? When Morzutra came and he forced such a thing. Velohi. But says the Gemara, it's not true. Hatam siyata dishmayava. Really, be'emet, it's not a proof what we just said, because there was siyata dishmayava, that's what happened, but not really be'emet, that you shouldn't start doing all these things. Okay? Kalate der Razvid imrada. The Kalav Razvid, she was moredet al bala, but she went and she said, Mausu alai. Havatfisa chad shira. So, right, she had one of the amin. She went and she had amin. Yativ amin was the Rashi, so sitting.
What do you mean?
Right?
What do you mean?
What? She had a meal. She had a coat. Let's say she had a very, very expensive fur coat, let's say, whatever it is. You understand? So Yativ, a silk coat. So Yativ Amima Morzutra Vervashi. So they were sitting Amima Morzutra Vervashi. Yativ Rav Gamda Bagabai. Rav Gamda was there also as well. Yativ Bekamri, they were saying, Marda, Hifsida Blaotea Kayamin. If she was moredet, so therefore she's also going to lose the clothing that she brought in with her ketubah even. Which means she's losing everything basically. Even what she brought in for the ketubah, she's losing. So Amalu Rav Gamda comes and he tells them, he says what? Since Rav Zvid is such a great person, you guys are trying to butter him up? Meaning, one more time, it's the daughter-in-law of Rav Zvid that she rebelled against her husband. So Rav Gamda comes and he says, because Rav Zvid is such a big rabbi, you guys are trying to butter him up, and therefore you guys are going to try to say that she loses everything, even everything that she brought in. The Amar of Kahana, he says this was a safek of Rava, right? And they didn't answer it. So if they didn't answer it, why do you guys say that? You understand? So Ika de Amri, some people say that the story was Yatvi de Kamri Marda lo ifsida. Other people were coming and say that it was opposite. That they said that she doesn't lose it, right? Lo ifsida b'lo tekamin. Amalur Rav Gamda, and Rav Gamda, the exact opposite, like what we said before. Rav Gamda comes and he says, right? He says, well, because he's such a great person, you're putting it against him, and you're using it against him because he's such a great rabbi. This was the question of Rava, and we did not answer it.